Hi guys, my name is Melanie Mercado and today I will be discussing why I think the legal drinking age should be lowered from 21 to 18. I want you to think about your first alcoholic drink. Go ahead, think long and hard. Was it magical and life-changing like you thought it would be? Was it worth waiting until you were 21 to find out that the taste was less than exciting? Or was it worth getting in trouble with your parents because you knew you were way too young to be engaging in the act? How hard did you cringe as the burning alcohol slid down your esophagus? Why do you think you crave this moment so much? Psychology says that the human brain will always be drawn to obtaining what we can't have. In theory, this happens for a multitude of reasons, but here are two main ones. The first one is, when something is hard to get or forbidden, you tend to focus more on it. Just think, if you've ever been on a diet, you tend to crave the things you promised you would stay far, far away from. And two, people don't like to be told what to do, when to do it, or how to do it. This is related to not wanting to be controlled by others, especially if the situation feels unfair or arbitrary. So you may be asking yourself how this information relates to lowering the drinking age and why we should implement more emphasis on teaching youth to drink responsibly. And I'll tell you why. The likelihood of a person getting excited over a glass of water is probably little to none. If we think about this, it's probably because the taste of water is not very exciting. Not to mention, we've been drinking it for so long that there's nothing over the top about it. In fact, it's pretty normal for us in the United States to drink lots of water. Now let's compare this to the acceptance of alcohol. In most states, states' laws have made it very taboo for anyone under the age of 21 to purchase or drink alcohol. In fact, many liquor stores ban anyone under the age of 21 from entering the store without an adult. We make it seem like alcohol is some sort of magical drink only those of age can drink. Kind of like the forbidden fruit of beverages. In turn, this has made underage alcohol consumption an exciting crime. Some people may feel somewhat rebellious for drinking the forbidden beverage and get a thrill from doing so. But should we cause this effect on our youth simply because we think they are not mature enough? In the United States, at the age of 18, teens obtain rights that are of high importance at an age where they're not all mature enough to make these choices. Let's face it, at this time, most of them are still living with mom and dad and are still highly dependent of them. In most states, 18-year-olds obtain the right to get married without parental consent, own an armed weapon, buy tobacco products, vote, be brought into jury duty, and enlist in the military. In fact, males are required to register for the draft, and refusing to do so can lead to legal conflict. According to this study by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, 48% of those who marry before 18 are more likely to divorce within 10 years, compared with 24% of those who marry after age 25. The federal law states that 18-year-olds have the right to own a rifle or shotgun, and in some states even a handgun. Firearms are the instrument of death in 88% of teen homicide and 41% of teen suicides in 2014. By age 18, most states, if not all, allow for the purchase of tobacco products, dangerously addictive products that reduce the lifespan of any person by at least 10 years. Although it is arguable that alcohol also causes harmful effects to the body, moderate drinking is more easily achieved than moderate smoking. One right that has majorly affected our current day lives is the right to vote. We are giving these young citizens the right to partake in the country's most important event with the naive belief that they will do research of their candidate of choice and their beliefs. However, if we think back to the fact that people voted for a dead gorilla, are we sure these 18-year-olds are fit to have a say in who runs our country? Not only that, but we allow 18-year-olds to make decisions about how a person should be tried by allowing them to participate in jury duty. To top it off, we allow these seemingly young and inexperienced people to enlist in the army at the age of 18. While it is true that not all go into combat, those who do have the potential to come back with post-traumatic stress disorder, leaving an 18-year-old with psychological trauma that can last a lifetime. Not only that, but most are exposed to dying. So why do we allow 18-year-olds to engage in activities of such high importance, but we ban them from enjoying a simple glass of wine? The Mothers Against Drunk Driving have pushed so that legislature keeps the drinking age minimum at 21. They believe that it will have a greater impact on the amount of drunk drivers, therefore reducing the amount of drunk drivers. While this is a valid thought, it does not take into account that among drivers with BAC levels of 0.08% or higher involved in fatal crashes in 2008, more than 1 out of every 3 were between 21 and 24 years of age. The next 2 large groups were ages 25 to 34, consisting of 31%, and 35 to 44, consisting of 25%. This means that most of the alcohol-related casualties were achieved by those who were over the age of 21. The vast majority of countries worldwide allow alcohol to be legally consumed from a much younger age than the United States of America. In our neighboring countries, Mexico and Canada, the legal drinking age is 18. In these countries, it is reported that less incidents of underage drinking occur because it is less taboo. Growing up in a Mexican household, it was very common for there to be alcoholic beverages at parties and gatherings. Some argue that being around alcohol would make a person more likely to try it and abuse it. But I think this is not the case for those of us who grew up in a household where alcohol was not seen as something forbidden. My mom worked at a liquor store for many years, so it was always a given that we would have wine or some type of other alcohol in the house, and every once in a while she would let me have a sip of wine or a taste of liquor. At the time, she was not encouraging that I drink alcohol. She simply wanted to keep me from being curious and falling into future peer pressure. I honestly think that it worked to my advantage, because I didn't see it as something so precious or forbidden that I had to try it behind my mother's back. Instead, I learned that alcohol is not the best tasting beverage under the sun. At the age of 15, I knew that there was absolutely nothing special about this so coveted drink. In fact, it really made me wonder why some of my peers found it interesting to have parties and get wasted. But in retrospect, I see that most of their parents were very strict and made it seem like it was a deadly sin to have knowledge about the taste and effects of alcohol. Perhaps this cycle of taboo thought on alcohol simply keeps going because parents know that they also engaged in underage drinking, and maybe this had a poor effect on their career or education. Some of the people in greatest danger are those fresh in college. The age gap is so wide that 18-year-olds are most likely among those 21 and over. Alcohol annually contributes to some 1,700 deaths, 599,000 injuries, and 97,000 cases of sexual assault among college students. The plain truth is that America's young people do not learn to drink responsibly, because it is something they have to do clandestinely. Reducing the minimum drinking age in line with the minimum ages of Canada and much of Europe would help give the parents the opportunity to teach their children a responsible attitude to alcohol and would go a long way towards alleviating some of the many problems associated with binge drinking culture that is so prevalent among American youth. Allowing our youth to engage in the act of drinking at a younger age would not be as detrimental if our youth was educated about the consequences. Not only that, but by making the responsible consumption of alcohol more common, less of the young population would abuse of something so common. After all, education is the key to knowledge and responsible actions. So by keeping our teenagers involved in the education of alcohol consumption, we are keeping them involved in responsible acts. Thank you.